If there's some verses of the Bhagavad Gita that you like to memorize, this 29th verse, last verse of the 5th chapter, is one that Srila Prabhupada would quote often. He calls it the peace formula. People want shantim richati. If people want peace in the world, these are these three things to follow. Bhaktaram yagatapasam, sarvaloka maheshwaram, shuridam sarvabhutanam. Very good for preaching, because certainly peace is something that everyone is looking for in our increasingly unpeaceful world. So we're going to finish this first part of the reading with the 6th chapter, which is called Dhyana Yoga. And interestingly enough, in the first, if you look at the first editions of Bhagavad Gita, this was called Jnana Yoga. Jnana. It was a misunderstanding from Prabhupada's accent. Devotees thought that was Jnana Yoga, so it was Jnana Yoga. That's how it was printed. But then later on, Srila Prabhupada noticed it and he corrected the devotees. He says, no, it's called Dhyana Yoga. And of course, in today's world, yoga has become extremely popular. Hatha yoga, standa yoga, asanas, and practicing these things. And Krishna is Yogeshwar. Krishna is the master of yoga. I don't think you're going to find a picture of Krishna sitting in asana position. You see Krishna dancing, herding cows, doing so many things, but despite the fact that he's the master of all yoga and he gives all the results to the yogis, nonetheless, he's rarely found in those type of positions. Nonetheless, there is this process of apane, jupti, pranam, pranapanam, tatapati, of regulating the life airs, of sitting and meditating. Now, one has to achieve a certain level of purity or purification of heart to be able to do that. And one of the reasons that we're always moving around is because our bodies are not accustomed to this type of thing. You have to have more of a Brahminical body. It's a fact, Arjuna went out and did austerities and he didn't have a Brahminical body, he had a Kshatriya's body. But if you see yogis, and I'm sure when you're in India, you see yogis, they're very fit, their body, I'm not used to speaking English, their limbs are very flexible, pliable, and so for them it's nothing to be doing this. For us, it's not the norm. We're not used to functioning in that way. But nonetheless, even if physically one has the ability to do that, in order to do that type of thing where you're sitting all day and meditating the right way, under the conditions that Krishna is going to say, socho deshe pratishthapi, you go to a pure place. That means you go off to the forest, you go off by the seaside, you go on the bank of a river, you go off to the Himalayas, and with no heating, with no other type of facilities, and with no yoga mats. Deerskin maybe, but that's only not because it's soft, it's just to keep the snakes away. And you sit in those circumstances and you meditate. Ultimately, you meditate on Krishna, you meditate on the Supersoul, on the Patanjali Yoga system, describes that particular process. But if your mind is not pure, if your heart is not pure enough, and your mind will be restless, you won't be able to do it. And despite the fact that it's very physically, mentally demanding, we'll see that at the end of this chapter, Krishna more or less gives a qualitative analysis of the different types of yogis that he's talked about, the karma yogi. Here we also read about, in the 5th chapter, Krishna talks about the Sankhya yoga. Now he's talking about the Hatha Yogi or the Ashtanga Yogi, but he says, Yogi Nam api sarvesham. All right, I've talked about all these yogis. And that's another good verse to remember at the end of chapter 6 in your preaching. He said, yeah, there may be many yogis. Madgaten antaratmana shvadavan bhajate yomam. But those who have faith in me and who worship me with that faith, same yuktatamo mataha. My opinion, and Krishna's opinion is the absolute truth. He uses this expression in the Gita a few times. My opinion is that they are yukta uttama, that they are the topmost, they are the best. So devotees are the best yogi. Why? Because they come to the conclusion of yoga. They're already doing what yoga is all about. Shadavan bhajate yomam, which is that they worship Krishna with devotion. And then we'll